Hey y'all, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis here in early December. I just want to do an update about my plants. As you may or may not know, I've taken a couple months off from filming YouTube videos just to kind of focus what I want to do with the orchids. A month or two ago, I found out that I was not going to get my greenhouse. My HOA denied it, and that really sent me into a tailspin with all my orchids. So I need my weekends back to figure out what I was going to do with the orchids over the winter. And I've come up with a couple different solutions. And so I want to bring you up to speed a little bit on that, and then let you know when I'm going to resume normal, regular videos coming out again. So my plants are, well, there's four things that I did with my plants. The first is that I sold a bunch. Every now and then, every orchid grower realizes they probably have too many despite the size of their grow space. And so I was able to sell a bunch fairly quickly to a bunch of folks in my society. And while I was doing that, one of the members said, "Hey, I can take some of your extra plants. I have some room in my greenhouse." And it was so absolutely wonderful to hear that. And that kind of kindness is one of the many reasons, and this is going to be a little aside, but this is one of the many reasons why everybody watching this video should try and join your local society if you can. The wealth of knowledge and the passion that the folks in local societies have is really helpful. And sometimes folks can reach out to you and help you. And then, of course, in return, ideally one day you can return the favor and give your knowledge, give your time, give your energy back to the society. And then, of course, there's the friendships. Just meeting other orchid folks is great. So ultimately, I didn't need to do that because the same day that I was going to drop off my orchids, my extra orchids at the society member's house, Jean, who lives 15 minutes from my house, said, "Hey, I'm going to open up my greenhouse, which is empty, and you can store your plants there again this year." So the society member was an hour drive away, so I wouldn't have been able to really make it out to update the plants, and then I would have had to leave it to them to take care of them, as opposed to me just popping into Jean's greenhouse once every a couple times a week. So that is two scenarios of what happened to my plants. I sold some, and then I put a bunch here into the greenhouse. So I'm going to show you that real quick. Nothing, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. The other two places that I'm holding my orchids are at my house. One is in a grow tent in the garage, and all of my catasetums are in there. And then the final place is I set up an IKEA plant cabinet, and it looks really cool, and I'm excited to show y'all what it looks like. And I've got a bunch of the plants there. Eventually, the IKEA cabinet will become Phalaenopsis only, I think. We'll see. I still plan to get a greenhouse up next year, so in 2024, and then move most of my orchids into there permanently. But I still want to keep the IKEA cabinet for summer blooming or Polykilos, Phalaenopsis, novelty phals, whatever you want to call them. Not the ones that you see at the grocery store, the sort of species and maybe primary hybrids that are very fragrant and really intensely colored and very cool. But quick update is over. Let's turn the camera around and check out some plants as the sun is starting to peek out of the clouds today, and I will show you what I'm storing here in the greenhouse. All right, so I have most of my Cattleyas here, and here's a hand just for size reference to kind of show you the size of the plants. I've got my larger ones on top, and then they get progressively smaller as we work our way down the bench. And then at the end, I ended up selling a bunch of my Certipodiums. I really don't need them. I've got some left, and then I do still have two that I'm trying to get rid of. This one lost its tag, so I don't know what it is. And then I have some of the larger Cattleyas. Here's Rhyncholalia glauca. That's really cranking out a bunch of new growths, putting on new sheaths, and will bloom soon, probably in the next 2 months, I would say. This is always such a cool species. It's Digbyana. Of course, it's Digbyana's lesser known relative, which is too bad because it's stunning outright in its own. This is my favorite Amethysta glossa. This is the only mature one that I still have, and it's that pale one with a little bit of yellow in the background. This is Tigrina, and then this is Neobenthemia gracilis, which is actually, I'm sorry, this is called Polystachya neobenthemia, and you can see it's recovering nicely from a hot summer. It's got tons of new growth in the bottom, and then it gets about 3 feet tall and very bushy. And just other Cattleyas. Probably don't need to get into all of them. Got some little ones. Here's some nobiliores from the selfings that I made and then came out of flask this year. This is a really cool Percivaliana that I'm hoping blooms this year. I don't think it will. It's Albert's. It's either a clone or a division of Albert's, which is absolutely beautiful if you get a chance to look it up. If it's going to bloom, it's probably going to bloom. It's going to have a spike or buds being sent out now. So I'm not entirely sure if this is a single plant or if it's multiple plants that are very young, but it doesn't look like it's going to bloom this year, which is unfortunate. So the next space that I grow my orchids in is here in the garage in this grow tent. And for those of you who've been watching my channel for a couple years, you may remember this. I don't know, I had this set up in 2020 and 2021 maybe. And, you know, I brought it back. I almost sold it because I didn't think I'd ever need it again once I got a greenhouse. Luckily I didn't. And in here is where I have my Catasetums and some of the Cattleyas. I might end up taking these Cattleyas up to Jean's place, although I mean they're doing just fine in here. I kind of worry though that the light here is a light from Carnivoro, which is a carnivorous plant nursery in Dripping Springs. They were just about 10 minutes from my house in the Austin area before I moved down here to northwest Bexar County or into the Bernie area. And I kind of worry that, you know, it's a great light, super, super bright, but I wonder if some of these Cattleyas down here are not going to get enough light. And that kind of leads me to my next point that, you know, I'm experimenting with what works. Anytime you get a new setup, you have to learn new things. You're going to have to figure out what the microclimate looks like, what the plants that you're growing, how they react to the new conditions. And one of the experiments that I've already been doing is I saw spider mites starting to take hold right as I was bringing them inside from outside. I kind of wanted to hold off just to see what would happen in a tent like this. So in a tent like this, I'm able to keep the humidity pretty high. And as many of you know, the lore at least is that spider mites do not like high humidity. And so I wanted to see what would happen if I kind of let the spider mites do their thing in the high humidity. Would the humidity actually knock them down, and then maybe I wouldn't have to take care of it? And the answer is no. The spider mites continued to explode as they typically do. And you can see that there's some damage, quite a bit of damage actually, that really took off. I've got some of my larger bulbs are turning yellow, and that's not rot, of course. That is, in this one down here, that's the plant absorbing the nutrients. So the plant, for whatever reason, doesn't feel like it has enough nutrients to last through the winter without absorbing those bulbs. So that's one of the reasons that you really want to let your Catasetum types get as large as you can, get some big fat bulbs, And then not only do you get better flowers, but if you have a tough growing year, your plants are going to do just fine over winter. And then here's a cloacia with blooms coming in. I'll zoom in here real quick. See, he's got 2 spikes. Got one there and then one there. I think that's Grace done. The tag has faded, so I don't entirely know which one it is. But anyway, so this is the grow tent. It's not huge by any means. I have my sensor push, of course. I've had sensor push for a bunch of years now, and I can show you exactly what the humidity and temperature have been over the past hour, day, week, month, year. It's a really great way to see what things look like, and that this is all from my phone. So I could be at work, and let's say, you know, this garage is unheated. So if I'm having a cold day, I can see, let's say if it's below freezing outside for some reason, I can just look at my phone and make sure that this tent is adequately warm. I also do have one fan here that goes on during the day at the same time the lights are on. The lights are on a timer, which is plugged into the wall over there, and it's a Casa timer, so it's actually a smart plug. And I got 2 of them. The 2 of them from Amazon cost $22 total, not each, total. So that's cheaper than an analog timer, and it's got a setting that automatically syncs up to sunrise and sunset in my area. And so my lights for this and the IKEA cabinet turn on and off with my natural sunlight. So I don't have to set anything ever. The plants will be taken care of that way. The lights will come on and off appropriately. And so when I throw these guys back outside, they'll be just fine. They won't have any shock from the lights. They'll be acclimated just fine. The other thing that I do is I use this to water. So this, instead of a watering hose, is just a pressurized system. I could come through in here and just dump a bunch of water on a couple times a week. That's really it. Of course, the catasetums, they're not totally dry at this point. Most of them are still getting water once a week, once every other week, and just with this thing. So even then, it's not necessarily like a whole heck of a lot of water, but it's enough to keep them wet this time of year. And then, of course, by the end of December, there will be no more water at all for any of them. Even my import, the import Cycnices is right here, and it has a little spike coming out right here. So I'm excited to see that one bloom again this year. Maybe I'll get female flowers, I don't know. You can see that this year's bulb is quite a bit smaller than last year's, but it's got a big fat root system, so it should have a nice spike on it. Anyway, that's the grow tent. Let's go check out the IKEA cabinet in my living room. Finally, here is the IKEA cabinet. This is a Rudsta. I got this, gosh, I think it's only like 150 bucks or something, so it's not super expensive. I patterned it after this woman's Instagram version of this. I think I did almost identical. I set it up almost in an identical manner. And what that is, let's see if we open this up. This is actually a shoe rack. There's 2 of these, and I put them together and they fit perfectly in here. And then of course I have Carnivoro lights again. I really like the Carnivoro lights a lot. Drew Martinez has an optics background, and he quit his probably pretty lucrative job at Google to start his own plant nursery, and it's great to see that his plant nursery, his carnivorous plant nursery, has been growing by leaps and bounds over the years, and he's got a pretty large staff at this point, and he's doing really well, and I really like supporting not only a local plant person to the Central Texas area, but the fact that he has this optics background and he has a plant background. He's able to combine those, and I think these LEDs are absolutely amazing, and they're going to do really well for the orchids. And he has a great breakdown on his website talking about the different lights and how they operate compared for the plants. I also drilled holes in the back, 2-inch holes. This was pretty easy to do. This metal is very soft. Of course, I have yet another sensor push. And then on the bottom, I have, this is also from IKEA, this little rack. It fits perfectly in here and holds just leca, so that as water cascades down here, it collects in there and then comes back up as humidity. I do have some plastic here so that the water coming off the plants does not drip onto this lower light here. The lights are held in with magnets. So that's pretty cool. So it's super easy to move. Same thing with the bottom. And then of course these are on timers as well, synced up to the sun, my local sun, which is just, I really can't emphasize how cool that is. This is Nepenthes veitchii that I've repotted recently. I'm trying to get it to grow up here. I've had this for a couple of years. It's actually got variegated leaves, which is very unusual. And once this gets back into the groove, and it's got some nice pictures again, I'll probably show some. And then I have this little pingicula here, which is morphing into its wintertime clothes. So you stop watering these guys and they start, their leaves get more succulent and thick and they stop catching insects. And then these are a couple of dendrobiums actually that Nicole Deanna sent me. Putting out some buds here, and then another one over here. These are some baby catasetums that I got in a flask maybe 6 weeks ago. This is Yusuf Niazi by Catasetum Black Knight, and you can see some photos of the parents here, so I'm super excited for that. I've got my Phalaenopsis are in here. This is a Gigabell from Michael McCarthy. It had a tough time this summer, but it did really well. I only had to shave off half of one leaf, but otherwise it looks great. Repotted it. This, like I said, this will all eventually become Phalaenopsis, I think. And I've got Ludemaniana here. I've got another Gigabell over here. Venosa, Bastianii, Zabrina, which has seen better days, dropped some leaves, but I think it's still holding on to these last leaves, so I think it should bounce back. It's been a tough year. This is Phalaenopsis tetraspis and this is C1, also from Nicole Deanna. She sent me, she has this red and white one, which just throws out tons of cakeys, and we traded, actually, I don't know, earlier this year I sent her a piece of this Bastianii, and then she sent me a piece of this C1 back, so I'm super excited to see those bloom. And yeah, that's the long and short of the collection. And I do want to show my temperatures here inside that I can pull up for my sensor push to show the indoor temperature. So the temperatures in this cabinet stay about 5 degrees warmer than the house, which is great. So in the summertime, if I can get this up even higher, that would be awesome. If I could get this to be 80 plus degrees and then come back down to normal temperatures in the evening, the plants would really love that. But anyway, that's my update. I plan to start posting new videos on a regular basis starting in January. So in about a month, enjoy some more of my time away from the camera and just relaxing on the weekends. And to be honest, I was really scrambling to figure out what to do with my orchids a couple months ago, so I needed to spend less time filming and more time organizing and figuring out and planning and this is what I came up with. So Gene's greenhouse, tent, selling a bunch, and then this IKEA cabinet. In fact, selling those plants funded this whole cabinet, including the lights. So this whole setup, including the lights, I would say was less than $500. So not too shabby. I think a great investment, and it's really cool looking. I'm excited to see this get nicer and nicer over time, and figure out how it actually works. Anyway, we'll see y'all in January. Bye.